Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Cherbourne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us. We appreciate it very, very much. And, we always like to get updates. We certainly like to find out how things are going in all of our different parishes. The best way to do that in Lafourche, ask the parish president, Archie Chesson. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey, Keith, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. I didn't mean to tickle you right there, but that's the way we find out
That's
stuff.
the way we do it, right?
And so, listen, been an important week here this past week. So anything kind of in general, what we've kind of found out or what we learned here this last week and some of the things maybe you're excited about?
Yeah, I spent the night in my garage, believe it or not. Didn't go to a single election party.
Right. Good for you.
Didn't have to worry about it.
Right? Exactly.
And I figured if I went to one, I had to go to all of them.
Right.
I didn't want to spend all night on the road. But
sure.
New governor, right?
Yep.
That was,
right.
I think, a huge surprise. Not to say what the outcome would have been, right? But the fact that now Governor Landry kind of took it in the first run.
Right. Yeah. So we don't have to wait on that. It's something that somebody you can work with right now.
That's right. And I actually literally, as I was pulling up, got a text from him.
Okay.
I sent him a congratulatory text Saturday night, and of course, I mean,
sure.
I can imagine. I know what happens to our phones those nights. I can imagine what happens when you become the governor. But
right.
Really excited to see that. Really excited to see what that new trajectory looks like with a conservative majority in both houses in the Senate and the House. What a new speaker looks like. What a new Senate president looks like. Because all that's going to come back up with, Speaker Schexnayder and President Cortez rolling out. They were all turned out and left.
Right.
But we do have some important stuff left to do, right? We still have to elect an AG, a Secretary of State. There's still some runoffs in the legislature, I think, for a couple of them. And locally, we have a runoff left for one of our council districts. Councilman Jones, who's the incumbent, is facing Mr. DJ Broomfield in the runoff. So I think voter turnout in this one is going to be really, really important. Voter turnout was really low in this one.
Yeah, we found that in both parishes, right?
Right, we're talking 30-some-odd%.
Yeah.
And I think even 33, 34% statewide. So
right.
it was a little weird, and I don't know if it was because of just a political environment right now, right? Or if everybody just thought, well, the governor's race was already decided, why even go vote? LSU was playing,
yeah.
We had a bunch of football games that weekend, or what the deal was, right? But we still have some work to do. We're gonna settle that last council race in Lafourche. We have a new councilman coming on board, Mr. Mark Perk, who went unopposed
right.
In the first go round, and then the other remaining 7 are coming back.
Right.
So we're gonna have pretty much the same crowd with us. Once we figure out what happens with Councilman Jones in this runoff. But we've been able to do some really cool things over the last 4 years, right? And we've talked about this before through COVID and the hurricanes. But having that continuity, right? Having those mostly the same council coming back. Mr. Mark's been on the Thibodaux City Council, has been a community member and a volunteer for years, so he knows what's going on right now. He's no stranger to the game. But having that continuity, they'll just keep going. Right. We don't have to worry about stopping and starting and figuring out what are we going to do. From an administrative standpoint, all of our folks are coming back. The key 7 people that we get to appoint, we've already had all those discussions. So we're going to have a good continuity of government there. Our budget process is on its last leg. The council will do the budget hearings in the month of November. Our budget is strong, even with the kind of fluctuations in the economy. Sales taxes have been really good over the last 2 years because of the hurricane, which is unfortunate, but it's allowed us to stock some money away to do some bigger projects. Coming here today, we were having our pre-construction meeting for our new animal shelter, which is going to be going up in Thibodaux. The council approved some new bids last week for what will become the new Lafourche Parish Agricultural Complex.
Oh, that's right.
Will be a new rodeo arena and some livestock barns for not only our kids who are show kids that show animals, whether they're pigs or cows or goats or whatever, but we'll also have a new covered arena so we can do some bigger rodeos with our roping club, hopefully induce some more people to come to Lafourche and eat and drink and stay, and do some more college type, horse shows and stuff like that. So that's going to be a huge economic boom for us. And then looking in the South Lafourche, right, as we fix our parks and recreation facilities from the hurricane, which we're finally getting to. The council approved those low bids at the last council meeting last week as well. So putting those recreational facilities back together, making further investments in turf fields, in La Rose and Golden Meadow, because we know our kids are playing a lot of travel ball, right? When they go to these other parks, they have turf there. So we're trying to give them, when they play our regular rec seasons, they have the ability to play on the same surfaces that they might play on when they travel, right? So a whole lot of fun stuff happening right now.
And it's really interesting. You talk about that consistency and some of the funding that we're able to use to really make the athletic experience good for them is similar to the consistency that you have in government.
That's right.
And you guys find a way, and this is just because of leadership, it's because of the people that you have to be able to just come together and make things happen without having to disagree about a lot of stuff. And even if you do, there's a way to agree to disagree and still move forward.
Yeah,
that's something awfully powerful.
And that's been the one good thing we found. You know, we've had our disagreements, right? Not every administration and council are going to be hunky dory,
right?
You know,
all the time,
100% of the time, right? We've been really lucky in the fact that we understand each other. That there's that kind of mutual respect there. That even when we do disagree, we'll either do it behind the door before we walk into the council meeting room. Or even if we do disagree during a meeting, it's never really gotten rambunctious or ugly or anything like that. And for Lafourche Parish, that's really darn good, right? We've had fist fights in the parking lot. We've had knockdown, drag out 4-hour council meetings.
Right.
And I have to say, look, our council meeting Tuesday night was, I think, 40 minutes.
Wow.
You know, we found this neat tool called communication, where we're talking to the council, we're giving them agenda updates well ahead of time of when they're seeing their packets get delivered to them. So those sorts of things have really paid dividends for us, and something that we're going to continue to do over the next 4 years to make sure that we can continue to beat the drum and keep the parish moving forward. Still a lot of work to do, Keith.
Sure. Oh, no, absolutely. And that's why I asked that question, because I knew that we don't want to slow down in the momentum that we have, but there's a lot to do. And so speaking of all those things to do, take a little break and come back if that's all right. We'll talk about all of the ways that things are improving, because they really are. As we've talked about, coming through COVID, coming through the hurricanes, really looking at the improvements and just trying to get there without having too much stuff in the way.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. We'll do that. We're going to take a break. You do that with us. We'll be right back with President Archie Chesson when we return.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Parabon General Health Systems, modern technology and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Very glad to be joined by my friend and colleague, Mr. Archie Chesson. Archie, thanks for joining us again.
It's always good to be here, Keith.
I appreciate it. And look, it's so very good to look at that political climate and see where we are in Lafourche, and just no interruption, because there's so many things that we're doing and looking forward to. Let's kind of maybe talk a little bit about some of the projects that are kind of in play and where we are in the status of some of those.
Yeah, and some of these have been, I mean, long holdovers, Keith,
right?
We have a pump station we're getting ready to go out to bid on. I think we started designing, like, I don't know, 4 weeks into office, right?
Right.
It's been a struggle, and a lot of this stuff it's been on again, off again in some cases, right?
Right.
Because you lost some time through COVID, you lost some time for the hurricane.
Right.
There was about an 8-month period where we didn't do anything but hurricane stuff and
right.
immediate aftermath about it.
And that stuff had to take precedence.
It did.
You know?
And we're finally picking up the pieces. And I think people all the time, people ask, you know, well, where are you in recovery, right? And I always say we're probably about 75% of the way there. And we're kind of stuck there for the minute.
Right.
And partially because of just what our residents are still facing with, you know, insurance issues and putting their lives back together and trying to figure out what exactly is going on in their environment. And then our biggest struggle has just been the federal process, right? Working through
right.
FEMA and our own insurance companies that we've had to, you know, go through litigation with and stuff like that. So, you know, I always say that we don't live in this ivory tower in government. We don't understand what you're going through, because we've had to do it all. And some of us have had to do it personally as well, right? So it's been a struggle, but you know, we're getting there. We have things like the Valentine Pontoon Bridge that has been something that we've worked on. Was started by the late Representative Reggie Bagala. I know we've talked a lot about on the show.
Right.
Now held up. We got a federal grant from USDOT, and it's held up due to some environmental stuff right now. But again, it's those small nuances that you think, hey, we got $2.5 million to go help build this bridge, right? That's $2.5 less million that we as the parish have to put up.
spend, right.
And then you go, oh wait, now we're stuck for 8 months because of a NEPA process, right? So it's
because of lily pads.
Because
And,
of
I, and I
right.
say that, but very often sometimes it's something as simple as that slows things down.
That's what it is. And we've tried to make the argument on some of these processes and some of these projects that say, look, guys, the bridge is already there. We're not trying to touch a fresh piece of ground that we're going to go destroy. You already have a bridge there, right? Let's just go build the new one. Right. Same footprint, same size, same everything. We're just ripping out the old one, putting in the new one.
Right.
So it's some of those things have been a struggle, but we look at things like recreation and the turf fields and stuff we talked about already.
Right.
We talk about the improvements to the buildings we're making, trying to get things like nobody thinks about it, but you think about the judges, right? They're in a 300-year-old building. With very little insulation, with a roof that kind of still leaks every now and then because of the hurricane, right?
Right.
And you just think about the typical process you had to go through to put a new roof on your house. Now, think about that process with a 300-year-old building that is now on the National Historic Register that has copper involved, right? So it's those small baby steps that we have to take. And a lot of people, I think, don't realize, and I often joke that we all probably should have paid more attention in civics class when we were in 8th grade. I mean, even I should have, right? Doing this now, I wish I would have paid more attention. But just the things the parish is responsible for that everybody didn't get, right? The 32 buildings we own, including the courthouse, where the DA is, where the sheriff is, where the assessor is, where the clerk of court is, where the animal shelters, the coroner's office, all that fun stuff that people don't realize.
And how you have to maintain it, and how most of them got damaged.
That's right.
Right. So we're still dealing with that, but we're dealing with parish-wide updates and upgrades, and it's not even upgrades. It's just getting back to some sense of normalcy, and that's where that 75% comes in. Archie, as I travel down into Lafourche to see patients, I'm still reminded that people are still really struggling.
Absolutely, especially I got up in an aircraft a couple of weeks ago, and just to see it from the air, and it still looks very blasé in some areas, right? I'll use that as the term, right? Yeah. Especially when you look at the wetlands and the loss we saw landmass wise, it looks very good. But look, Keith, Lafourche is still doing really awesome, right? Fouchon is blowing and going. Chet and the Port Commission and Harbor Police and all their staff down there. Nicholls State University is doing some awesome things with new buildings and expansions with, how we helped with the football stadium and the new practice facility that's being built behind the Bookball complex. Nicholls is going to be, the hub. They've broken ground on the new coastal center. That's going to be a huge asset to our area and our community. There's a task force working right now to figure out programming and who's going to be the new executive director there. So you're going to see those exciting things coming out soon. Month of October and September for us is festival season.
Yep. I was just thinking that.
The Cutoff Youth Center Hurricane Fest, La Fête de Vieux Temps, Chac Bay Gumbo Festival, which was last weekend.
Which was fantastic. My wife she and one of her friends were going. That turned into 12 people. They spent all day. And I didn't even tell her how much money she spent. I didn't care.
Didn't care.
Because it was a huge support to what needed to be there at the Chac Bay Gumbo Festival.
No doubt. We got a break this weekend, and we got the last weekend is always French Food Festival down in La Rose at the La Rose Civic Center.
Right.
Everybody's had beautiful weather so far. The weather for riding in the parade in Chac Bay Sunday was just, I kind of got cold for a minute on the golf cart.
Like, really?
Where'd that breeze come from all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So hopefully we're going to pray for some good weather for Thomas and the Civic Center that goes down, the guys down at French Food.
Right.
So tourism is up. When you talk to Cody Gray and those guys at the Tourist Commission,
right.
People are starting to come back. They're visiting New Orleans, and they come to us for what I like to call the real caging experience and not the made-up stuff you get in New Orleans, right? The food and our restaurants. So that's booming and blowing. You look at the construction aspect and the amount of work that's happening right now,
right?
Especially in South Lafourche with the last part of LA1 that's being built right now. If you drive down the Fouchon into Golden Meadow, when you see the cranes and
it's
going
remarkable.
It's just awesome.
Yeah, right. To see that movement, right?
Right. And next time I always say I'm going to do it, and one day I'm going to remember to do it, is send the pictures. We're building a new airport access bridge that's going to go from 3235 to the Port Commission's airport. There was a picture that Bollinger Shipyard just put out. Bollinger's still making Coast Guard cutters in Lockport, Louisiana, which is still an awesome thing. And they had a new Coast Guard cutter that was going through the purlings for the bridge as it was being built. And I used it in a presentation to the Engineering Society a couple weeks ago in New Orleans. And everybody was like, guys, that's so photo credit to Bollinger. But that's a really awesome picture to really wrap up what Lafourche is, right?
Right.
Brand new Coast Guard cutter that's going to help save the world at some point, and a brand new $40 million bridge, all in the same picture in Lafourche Parish.
And those are the great updates to Lafourche Parish, which you always know so much about.
Absolutely.
Archie, can't thank you enough for stopping in and seeing us today. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Keith.
All right. And guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more, even about Lafourche Parish, when we return.